Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Saco City Council meeting. Before we call the official meeting to order, we do have a quick workshop tonight. With us this evening, we do have Kate Kearns, Sean McCarthy, and they are going to be presenting to us the Measure and List Vision Government.
Is this on? Yep, it's on. Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, and City Administrator. So we just want to take a few minutes tonight to talk to you about the Measure and List for residential properties that's been coming for about a year now. Tonight we have Sandra Schmucke she's the project manager from Vision Government Solutions. She's going to come up here and talk a little bit about what they're going to do in the field. And also have time for you to ask questions. They're actually not going to be they're here in the building preparing for the Measure and List, and Wednesday you'll be in the field. So, and then we have Sean McCarthy here, he's our Deputy Assessor. Will be available to answer any questions you might have as well. So come on up. And there is a PowerPoint, and Sean will be clicking through the slides.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, Kate. Thank you for inviting us here to talk about the residential Measure and List. So I am wearing a visibility vest that you will see our staff wearing when we're out in the field. And we also have picture IDs on us, so you'll be able to identify us, and we want to stand out as we're walking through the yard so that you may see us and your neighbor. We're assuming that we're on everybody's security camera, etc. It even says vision on the back of our vest so that we can really stand out and everybody can see us. Okay, so the town is having us do a Measure and List. That means that we're going to inspect the properties, if allowed on it, for all the residential properties. There's 7,800 parcels here in the city for us to be inspecting. And so now we're really doing on the flow chart, this is part of the public relations plan. We also have been sending out pre-inspection letters to the property owners. And what we did is we're breaking the city up into sections, and we're sending the letters so that they get them within 90 days of us being there on their property. So they're just were mailed out, and that's why we're not going to start being on the ground until Wednesday. We want to make sure that they started to arrive. We're starting over near the ocean front, over in the maps, starting on those low areas there. And so we already had met with Kate and Sean and went over the guidelines, making sure that we are following what the city does here, and making sure that we have all we're all on the same page, and making sure that there's no misunderstandings. And so we sent out the pre-inspection notification letters. And so we came into the office today, and we have all the cards printed out, and we have it all organized so that we can start going out and doing the inspections. And that means that we're going to be approaching the doors. First and foremost, we will ring the doorbells and knock on the door, and we will knock twice to make sure that someone may possibly hear us. And if they have any kind of like a computer doorbell, we will speak into the doorbell and say, "My name is Sandra, I'm working for Vision Government Solutions." We also have a letter of introduction from the assessor's office. We will also show that to the camera and say, "I'm here to measure your house. I will go about and do that measurement now." And so we will at least speak to the cameras and the doorbells, so if no one is there, so that they can see it later on and see that, who is here. We will go about and check all the exterior measurements of all the buildings on the property. If there is a no trespassing sign, we will not go onto that property. If there is a fence and the person is not home, we will not breach the fence. And so we'll measure all the parts of the houses and any of the outbuildings that we can, that we're not going to be behind the fence. And then if you are home, we will explain to you what we're doing, and we'll ask you to allow us to do an interior inspection. If you allow us to do that, it's something that will only take a few minutes for the walk through the house. And what we're doing is we're looking at the data on the inside of the house and on the assessor's records, and making sure we have the flooring right, the bedroom count, the bathroom count, all the areas that are finished. That's what we're looking for. We just want to make sure that we have the data accurate, because the assessment is based on the data that we have on the house, and that's what we want to make sure is accurate. and we want to just pick everything up and do it in a fair manner and do it in the same way. So if we're picking up patios of certain sizes, we're going to pick up all patios throughout the city the same way, same thing. And then what will happen is if no one is home on the first inspection, we will be coming back and doing a second inspection. We usually will come after 4 o'clock, and we'll try to come and get it so that people obviously may be working away during the day, and maybe we'll catch them at home. You can, if the interior of your house is something that you don't want us to come into, that's okay. We may ask you to just confirm the data with us at the door. And then that's fine, you gave us the data, and we'll just make sure again that we have it accurate. And some people can send us on our way too. If you don't want us there to do this, then that's fine too. You just let us know and we will leave. And so later on, we'll probably be mailing out letters for callbacks to everyone that we don't get into. So we went by a house twice, no one's there. We'll give them the opportunity to make an appointment with us. And that is the process. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Gunn?
I was curious, are there any days of the week or times specifically that you will not be in the field? I'm just thinking for the general public's,
Well, we're never going to be out in the field on Sunday, and usually we won't be there on Saturday, unless we are asked to later on, when we're doing callback inspections, to make it convenient for property owners. We may pick a Saturday or two, but again, they would probably be doing inspections. But I don't anticipate that we'll have to work on a Saturday at this point.
Councilor Berman?
Yeah, if somebody refuses an inspection, is there a way the city can make sure their data is accurate?
I'm sorry.
If somebody chooses to not allow the inspection, is there a way the city can still verify the data about the house?
Kate, do you want to address that?
No. So they have a right to refuse, and we go based on the data that we have. For instance, if the house was ever for sale in the past 5 years, we may be able to verify internal data through Redfin or, any of the realtor companies that have a lot of photos. But we would be using whatever we had, and they would be forfeiting their right to appeal if they refuse entry. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. It's interesting, I just had an occasion this week talking to a constituent who is attempting to sell a house that they had bought maybe 3 or 4 years ago. They bought it as a 3-bedroom home with a finished basement, and now the home is under contract, and it has been discovered that the house on the tax card is a 2-bedroom with an unfinished basement. And so the question now is, that needs to be reported, and secondly, somebody's tax bill is going to reflect that increase. And I only bring this up because this could easily be an alternative way for discovery in terms of listings versus tax cards. And I don't know, I'm not familiar with the protocols of real estate agents. We have one sitting here on the dais, but it would seem to me that that might be a normal step in the process of selling a home, is making sure the tax card lines up with the home. So I appreciate the fact that some folks can refuse to let you in, but there may be some alternatives like that that we might be able to think about as a possible resource for uncovering these discrepancies. And I think it's also important to understand, general public, that all we're doing is matching your house with your card. And if it matches up, my understanding is there'll be no impact on your taxes. If it doesn't match up, then there is this ever-present issue of fairness and how that discrepancy occurred The individual I cited as an example actually went back and did some research, and it was, I think he told me there were 3 owners prior that had actually made the improvements, and apparently never got a permit to do so.
They did or they didn't?
What's that?
They did or they didn't have a permit?
They did not have a permit, yeah. So that's what we're trying to uncover, essentially. And in all fairness to all taxpayers, we're all supposed to share the burden by having accurate assessments on our homes. So this is a very valuable exercise, and hopefully we won't uncover too many discrepancies, but those that are uncovered have to be resolved in fairness to everybody else. So I'm looking forward to your efforts. I think they're going to be very valuable to the city, and hopefully everything will work out well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hewitt?
Would it be possible to get a schedule, or possibly our communications office to, like in the morning, set, post on the city website to expect the Visions people in this neighborhood or this area, and we can share it with our constituents just to know when they're going to be in our ward?
Yep. Kate, do you want to speak to what you're already doing on the website?
Well, right now, our website has a ton of information on it. And we have notified the public that we'll be starting with map 1, 2, 3, which is down at the ocean. So they're going to work their way from the ocean west. So, I mean, I don't know that we could give a day by day where they're going to be, but we can certainly do a week by week.
Right? Well, we can do that. We'll let you know we're in this section right here now. So, for instance, like Kate said, we're starting in maps 1 through 11. That's over 800 parcels, and so we sent the letters out to them, so they are, the people who own residential property there, not vacant land, but improved property, that they're getting a letter, so they should expect us immediate. So they're already expecting us, and what we can do is we just communicate with Kate, we're in this area here, and then that way the people, again, they should be expecting us if they get the letter. But it's possible that if they are a seasonal person, that the letter's going to their home, and they're not even going to be there when we go by anyway. But like going back to what Phil said, though, when you get the information and we get it accurate, it makes it fair for everybody in the community. We don't want the person who had the finished basement and wasn't being assessed for it, they were paying less and everybody else was paying more.
But that's
So-
not to,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry,
Go
that's
ahead,
not
Kate.
to say that if they refuse entry, that we still may not pick up the finished basement.
So you're sending the letters in phases?
Yes.
Based on, you're doing, like you said, 1 through 11, that will be the first set.
That's
Then
correct.
when you're ready to move into the next set,
Yep.
those letters, so that way people aren't sitting on a letter for a year.
No.
Okay.
And it even says right in the letter that we're going to be there within the next 90 days. So some of these people, we're going to be there the next day when they start opening their letters, if they're over in that area.
Thank you. Councilor Johnston, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was. Just to that point, I think with you starting down by the beach area and the vast majority of the beach area now being seasonal, it's highly unlikely you're actually going to gain entrance to a large majority of the properties that, just with my own 2 eyes, I've seen new construction being taken place in those properties. So just something to keep in mind, that we may have to continue following up on the city side to actually get entry. Thank you.
And is this just internal, or are you looking at the property as well for sheds, decks?
We're looking at all the improvements on the property. So an improvement would basically be any outbuildings, pools, sheds, exactly patios. We want to make sure we have the siding right, the roof right, the story height right. How many people are living there? Maybe sometimes people, they think it's a single family, and we go there, there's a couple of meters, a couple of mailboxes, we go back, we say, it appears that there's 2 people occupying this property now. So it's really just clarifying a lot of information now. Anything where it's been recent construction or building permit work, that data is probably pretty accurate. But if it's really older buildings and no one's done anything recently at all, we'll find out how accurate the data is.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
All right. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you again for inviting us.
Thank you, Kate. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Saco Council meeting for November 18th, 2024 at 6:44 p.m. I'd like to make note that all councilors are present with the exception of Councilor Archer, and City Administrator Bahanko is present. Would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Okay, that now takes us to item number 4, and that is committee correspondence to council. Any council members wishing to speak? Councilor Hatch, then Councilor Hewitt.
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. As liaison to the Bedford-Saco Orchard Beach Transit, I want to give you all an update on our executive director position. Executive Director Chad Hyde resigned from his position in October. He has accepted a new career-advancing position at Greater Portland Metro. Chad has served the BSoup Transit organization admirably and competently for approximately 3 years. His transit management skills will be missed. All those who have had the pleasure of working with Chad during his tenure at BSoup Transit wish him well in his new position, and his departure has been extremely amicable. So the transition to hiring a new executive director will proceed as follows. Starting tomorrow, the City of Saco Human Resources Department will assist BSoup Transit in advertising the executive director position, opening through various HR hiring outlets. BSoup Transit will bear all costs associated with this advertising effort. From there, Saco City Administrator and BSoup Transit Board Member John Bahanko will chair an effort to collate and review all submitted applications and help create a qualified subset of candidates for further review. That process will include me as City of Saco Council Liaison, Old Orchard Beach Town Council Liaison Ken Blow, and Biddeford City Council Liaison Doris Ortiz. From there, the subset of applicants for final selection will then be interviewed by a small but broader cross-section of BSoup board members and staff yet to be determined. Rod Carpenter, a long-time supervisory level employee of BSoup Transit, will serve as its interim executive director until a replacement candidate is selected. It is expected that Rod will have the full support of the BSoup board during this interim period. There should be no disruption of transit services during this period. An announcement regarding Chad's replacement will be made by me here in a future City Council meeting after a selection has been finalized. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hewitt?
I just want to remind everybody the Festival of Trees is going to be starting. It begins with a preview tea, November 23rd, 1:30 to 3:30. November 23rd at 6:30 to 8:30 is the Library Gala. There's tickets on sale online. And then the Festival of Trees will be going from November 29th till December 29th.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone. Item number 5 this evening, there is no general. Item number 6, public comment. If there are any members of the public wishing to speak, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address council.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Archer of 185 Bradley Street. Prior to my solar fee public hearing testimony, I am responding to comments made at the last council meeting. I respect and learn from everyone's opinion, yet somehow I feel compelled to say that in the last 10 years, I have reviewed over 1,000 council or planning board agenda items, be it as a ZORS or HPC appointee or a concerned stakeholder, upon which I have addressed about 7% to the decision makers, sometimes repetitively. I have historical knowledge and participation. I have strongly advocated for transparency, full disclosure, accountability, and compliance. I base all comments on evidence and testimony presented or not disclosed. At the last council meeting, I only addressed via email the agenda item presented, commercial solar fees. However, after witnessing that meeting, I am now providing full disclosure of the facts regarding Blue Wave and its solar farm disclosures, as I, for one, am not making a mountain out of a molehill. In 2019, Blue Wave TRC rep outreached 14 Saco property owners. In 2020, Blue Wave submitted a request to rezone 3 lots as RC during the ZOR's process. On November 9th, 2021, Planning Board approved site plan and conditional use with conditions of approval. On August 4th, 2023, Blue Wave's ground lease agreement was executed with the Fendersons. On November 7th, 2023, page 6 of the Planning Board packet, Blue Wave requested a 1-year substantial construction extension to November 9th, 2024, which was approved by the Planning Board, which brings me to these facts. The November 9, 2021 conditions of approval, number 22, states, if substantial construction is not started within 12 months of this approval, the approval shall be null and void per section 1111 of the zoning ordinance. This solar project was null and void on November 9, 2022, 12 months after. As I believe that the Blue Wave's memo staff packets from the Planning Board packet 11/7/2023 last year, page 6, it was not fully transparent or factually based. I believe the same in there when I read the August 24 memo and the staff packets to council. This should be by now quite familiar to you, lack of transparent disclosures in packets or overviews, as it continues to be the same argument recently heard at the Maine Supreme Judicial Court, Dahlen versus City of Saco. Null and void means null and void. Therefore, this solar project construction site plan conditional use with conditions of approval became null and void on November 9, 2022. Trust but verify, and yes, words or the lack thereof have meaning and legal repercussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else wishing to speak, please approach the podium.
Hi, good evening. Inga Brown, 161 Simpson Road. I had on my calendar November 18th as the last opportunity that I would be able to thank Ward 1 Councilor Marshall Archer, but I know that I missed that. And I wanted to put into the record my sincere thanks for his service, his very careful deliberations, his ability to look at issues and topics from all sides, to do his homework, and then to vote with clarity of his vision. And while I didn't always agree with Councilor Archer on every item, that is to be expected, and I want to thank him for his service. I am also very delighted that Doug Edwards is going to be representing Ward 1. I am very eager to continue to get to know Doug better, and I know that in talking with him, he is very ready to jump in and do the hard work. Having said that, I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your volunteerism, your dedication, your long hours, all of the work, the packets, getting your head around all of this information. And I know that you're working very hard to represent your constituents to the very best of your ability. I also have, in the past several months, concerns about the fact that I don't believe you as council are, have at your fingertips the full record, the full history, and the background that you need to create and to sift through the information in order for you to make the best votes. I think this is a problem. I think that when certain issues are cultivated in a way to create a certain narrative for council, I know this happens, but I do believe that greater transparency and clarity are needed for you and your votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Inga. Okay, anyone else wishing to approach council? Okay, not seeing anyone seeking recognition. Moves us on to item number 7 this evening, and that is the approval of the minutes. We have the city council minutes for October 21st, 2024, council minutes for October 28th, 2024, and the council minutes for November 4th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Berman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hewitt. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, not seeing any. Roll call vote. Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that now takes us to item 8, and that is a consent item this evening. We do have one item, and that is the application for a license to operate Beano and Bingo at the Biddeford Saco Elks, number 1597. Is there a motion for the consent items?
So moved.
Is that
Second.
motion made by Councilor Johnston, second by Councilor Hatch. Any discussion on the consent item? Okay, roll call vote. Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that now takes us to item 9, and that is our action items for the evening. Item A is a public hearing for the fee schedule amendment, solar energy system electrical permit application fee, Chapter 87, electrical standards, and that is Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. The Code Enforcement Department recommends one electrical permit application fee for all solar panel installations, with a proposed fee of $7 per panel for the first 100 panels and $4 for each additional panel. The Code Office is also recommending to further clarify the fee schedule as noted in the previously provided exhibits. An update to the electrical permit application fee requires a public hearing in conformance with Section 87-6 of City Code, which is scheduled for this evening's meeting. I move to open the public hearing.
Motion has been made to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnston. Roll call vote. Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to open the public hearing passes 6-0. Public hearing is now open. If there is any member of the public wishing to speak, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Excuse me, is the time different?
I'm sorry?
Is the time different for public hearing?
Same thing, 3 minutes, yeah.
3 or 5?
3.
Thank you. Kelly Archer, 185 Bradley Street. As mentioned in public comment, trust but verify with qualifying questions. For the official public hearing record, I request that my 11/4/2024 email to council regarding commercial solar fees be included in the council's final reading packet, and I will reiterate here some of those concerns by those who watched the video. Was due process and due diligence performed in regards to Blue Wave's solar project? In my opinion, I am concerned that the city is attempting to negotiate a credit of $41,000 in favor of one applicant to avoid litigation due to the city not adjusting a commercial solar fee at the same time of enacting Chapter 180 in 2023. And the for-profit applicant now views that non-action as a potential benefit, is performing up to 562 inspection hours prior to obtaining a full payment on 8/29/2024. However, staff testimony on 9/9 stated those hours did not include the time to receive the plans or research any questions the applicant had of Marcel during the process, which they had many intensive questions. This is a retroactive permit, as the date of attached permit and ready for inspection date is both 4/7/2024. is accommodating one developer and their version of language fee, $4, after drafting out a solar ordinance to avoid implied litigation, did not indicate how many panels and dates of inspections in the hard file, nor had an inspection log with the dates with the accompanying receipts. May be concerned with a $10,000 insurance claim or risk management decisions. However, in my opinion, commercial fees should be higher than residential or the current solar fee of the $7. There, again, testimony was there for residential and commercial is not in the zoning ordinance. It only states solar fees at $7. Our zoning does not differentiate between those. Is Blue Wave back in communication with any of 2019's 30 property landowners and will benefit from their suggested reduced fee of $4? Why weren't legal conversations disclosed to council during the 4 to 5 months of interactions as confirmed in my due diligence? I do want to thank the electrical Marcel for calling me very timely, educated me, clarified things, and answered my questions. Are there any emails from Colin Sexton, Blue Wave reps, or legal to or from any city officials for council's review? In my opinion, any potential legal harm and its communications shall always be disclosed to the council. If so, does it hold any weight since the number 22 condition of approval is null and void for the last 2 years by their non-compliance? I firmly believe that the solar fee should remain at $7 until more empirical data over time from only multiple Saco applications, residential and commercial, be determined before council's consideration of a solar fee amendment change, and then only be addressed during a council budget season. And again, year and again, year over year, I have witnessed ignoring the circumventing the violations of local, state, and federal laws. I have witnessed signatures affixed or not to MOUs, contracts, BPIs, grants, etc., without due process or due diligence. I'm pleading with the council and staff to really give you the information that you need to have informed decisions, because you're missing out on key items. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Yep, please step forward.
Good evening. My name is Robert Goodrow. I live in Harpswell, Maine. I own multiple properties here in the city of Saco. Thank you for your time, Ms. Mayor and fellow councilors. I want to speak to the fee structure and purpose. It's not that this is self-serving. It affects me. I have a major solar plan in permitting now to take care of an apartment complex that will be 100% energy driven from the solar field and battery storage. It is a fee, and I looked at the need to have a fee on solar, and I looked at what I pay for fees to the city of Saco right now. I pay an open space permit. I pay a recreation permit. Sorry, these are impact fees, also permits as well. Fire and EMS, traffic and sewer permit, site and planning permits, third-party consultant fees, property taxes, building permits, letter of credits, testing third-party, mechanical and plumbing permits, electrical and alarm permits, solar battery permit, and now a panel fee. And I'm sorry, I just get a little obscure looking at understanding what your sign on your front page says is friendly to nature. I worked vigorously to work with the economic development to get a CPACE through the town council and get it approved. That's not business friendly if we're looking to promote energy efficiency, loan subsistence, and then we're your supposedly business friendly community. Why are we taking it out on solar panels? My fees for this upcoming project will put $1.2 million of fees in every department's planning and inspection. Of that $1.2 million, $800,000 goes to departments. And I say departments, that's the sewer department, the recreation, and others. 336,000 goes to inspections. $360,000 for one project. And you're telling me you need a solar fee? I'm just strange at understanding where you can come from when you're getting that much money from one project. The remaining amount, 6%, goes to planning and consultants for me to bring this project to fruition. I just don't see it unnecessary when you're getting, and I look at what I'm paying in electrical for battery, solar, and electrical and alarm, you're going to get approximately $88,000 from me. I just don't get it, why you need another $11,000 plus for solar panel fees. Please, take a gentle knife to this and skim it down to less than $4. If not anything, be proactive and be an energy efficiency community. Stop it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hello, Inga Brown, 161 Simpson Road. I am not as well versed in all of the details of this fee schedule amendment. I do not like the idea that we are considering a fee schedule amendment outside the stream of the normal budget process or during our normal fee schedule setting time. I don't like the optics of this. I think that it's raising too many questions. You're hearing a lot of testimony this evening that there's a lot of background to this project. I do not believe the council has in its packet the information that you need to make a clear and fully transparent decision. I also do not understand why Joe Blow citizen who wants to have 10, 20 solar panels on a barn or on their house would be paying the same exact fee structure as these very, very large solar companies that are venture capital, investment, lots of money, and I don't like the looks of that at all. I think that residential solar should have a different fee structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak? Okay, not seeing anyone. Councillor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. I move to close the public hearing and schedule the second and final reading for this item on December 9th, 2024.
Motion has been made by Councillor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Johnston. Any discussion? Councillor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. I was hoping I could get some clarifications from David Toomey on a couple of issues, if we might ask him. Is that okay? City Administrator?
Good evening.
Hi, David. How
Hi.
are you?
Good.
Good. Just a couple of clarifications. I had a conversation with some folks today, a couple of folks, and I'm looking at the 87-2 ordinance and 87-6. Some of this might be housekeeping, and some of it is procedural. First of all, 87-2 references the 2017 edition of the National Electrical Code. From what I understand, it gets updated every 3 years.
That is correct.
And so, as a future consideration, we might want to make a modification to that to get it up to speed, or just change it to the most recent date.
That's what we plan on doing at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that would
And there's some of the language is all coming out because it's inside the electrical code, so that chapter will change and you will see that at the beginning of the year.
Okay, that's great. So make it a little easy to roll forward with the changes. What does concern me somewhat is the interpretation of the, I guess it's the same first paragraph. The last sentence talks about at least 7 days prior to the public hearing, I got to pull this back here, the purpose of which is to consider changes to this chapter. Notice shall be given by regular mail, electronic mail, or facsimile to all electricians who have obtained an electrical permit within the 6-month period preceding the public hearing date. It's my understanding that when that was put into the ordinance, it was designed to allow our local professionals to at least have some input into some of these ordinance changes. And what confuses me, I get that, and hopefully we're following those guidelines for ordinance changes, but then I see 87-6, which talks about permits and fee schedule, and that city council shall determine fees after a public hearing, and whether or not those two are connected.
I don't believe so. Basically, last time we updated Chapter 87, we did do that. All electricians met up here. I was there. We talked over everything that we're going to change. They had their input, and then it went to you, council members, and they adopted it, the change. And we'll do that again when we try to do this at the first of the year.
Okay.
And you, as a council, can do the fee schedule separately.
Separate. So it's your interpretation
Yes.
of this that the fee schedule is not subject to this public hearing that involves.
That is my understanding.
Okay. And because I think that's an important distinction to make, given the fact that we are conducting a public hearing this evening. So I guess based on that, I think I've got my ordinance clarified in my head. I'm still struggling a little bit with the outcome of the vote, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Director Toomey. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing any. Roll call vote. Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to move final reading to December 9th, 2024. Okay, that now takes us to item B, and that's a first reading. The amendment to the Saco Code, Chapter 112, General Assistance Programming Appendices, and that is Counselor Gunn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Each year, Maine Municipal Association presents municipalities with new appendices for their city ordinance, which need to be reviewed and adopted. Be it ordered that the City Council hereby approve the first reading of amendments to the Saco Code, Chapter 112, General Assistance Program, Appendix A through H, and further moves to set the public hearing for December 9th, 2024. I move to approve the order.
Motion has been made by Counselor Gunn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Berman. Any discussion or comments? Okay, roll call vote. Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Counselor Berman.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I see from the recommendation and the highlighted parts of the ordinance that staff is recommending we go with the Portland FMHA levels again, but I don't see that language in the motion. So I just want to make sure when it comes back for a final reading that we clarify that we are adopting the Portland FMHA levels.
I might, Your Honor.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't preempt the council from making a decision. So if that's the will of the council, I certainly will put that in the motion.
Yeah, thank you. We worked on that a couple years ago, and I think had general consensus that those were the proper levels for a town. I hope council decides to move forward with those levels again.
So, Counselor, am I hearing correctly, thinking that we need to identify if we want to stay with the Portland levels? Or?
Well, correct, Madam Mayor. I believe that the sample ordinance has a variety of levels that we could choose from. And actually, their language of the draft ordinance places Saco into the general York County FMHA, which I don't believe is appropriate for Saco. I believe the Portland FMHA is more appropriate. We adopted that last year. I hope we'll continue to do so this year.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone. Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that now takes us to item C, and that's a final reading. Petition for the zoning text amendment filed by Cosmic Solutions LLC, represented by Cohen Law, Maine, to add adult-use marijuana manufacturing to the industrial zoning district pursuant to Title 28-B Cannabis Legislation Act, and that is Counselor Gunn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Cosmic Solutions LLC, represented by Cohen Law, Maine, has filed the enclosed pension for zoning text amendment to add the use, quote, adult use marijuana manufacturing to the industrial zone pursuant to Title 28B Cannabis Legislation Act. This request is for the city of Saco to, quote, opt in only for adult use cannabis manufacturing. Planning staff will also respond to councilors' questions asked at the November 4th meeting. Be it ordered that the City Council approves the pension for zoning text amendment filed by Cosmic Solutions LLC, represented by Cohen Law, Maine, to add adult use marijuana manufacturing to the industrial zone district pursuant to Title 28B Cannabis Legislation Act.
Motion has been made by Counselor Gunn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Berman. Any discussion or comments? Counselor Johnston?
Thank you. Spent a lot of time with this, perhaps too much. But after reviewing all the previous packets and this one, I don't have a conclusion, to be honest, based off what's before me. But I guess I'll just go back. First, let me state, far from an expert in this area, I would venture to argue that there's probably very few in the state of Maine that would call themselves an expert, since the laws seem to continuously be changing or evolving. But I would go back to, I guess it was September when we first addressed this issue, and at that time I had tried to explain how I was interpreting what was before us. And so at that time, again, as I understood it, this was being presented to allow for existing medical marijuana facilities. Again, we have so many different terms throughout the state, which, going back to several statements last week and spoken from the public podium tonight, words have meanings, and I'm conflicted with how we use different words all over local ordinances, state laws. But regardless, the idea was that we were applying this to existing medical marijuana, I'll just say facilities, forget the overall uses, that are in the current I zone. We would allow them to co-locate adult use cannabis manufacturing, which is recreational marijuana, as I understand it. We weren't looking to do standalone recreational facility. That was, again, my interpretation at the time. However, as the motion is presented, I don't think that this is being captured. It simply adds the use of adult use manufacturing to the whole of the I zone, allowing for standalone use. Again, I ask council, is that the intent? I expressed previously my concerns for the proliferation of all facets of this use throughout the industrial zones. And I said zones, I mean zone, because again, it used to be 3 zones, it's now 1 zone. So the area that this use could encompass is greater than it used to be, prior to 2021. So additionally, based on the motion, and clearly we can change the motion, I'm just going off what's before us, but there's no definition in the current zoning ordinance. There's no definition proposed in this motion that would define this use, right? So the medical or the manufacturing adult use. I think it's important you have that definition. And additionally, it's not clear to me whether we're making this a conditional use or a permitted by right use. Again, to me, that is important. And then furthermore, any action of approval, in my opinion, would explicitly be in conflict with Chapter 168 of our City of Saco ordinance when it comes to marijuana use. And for those that weren't around when we adopted it, I'll just express how and why this, again, seems out of order to me. If the council wanted to go in this direction, it would seem imperative that we amend Chapter 168 first. So under Chapter 168, you have 168-3, retail stores, marijuana testing facilities, and marijuana manufacturing facilities. A states, testing and manufacturing facilities, the city expressly prohibits the establishment, operation, and maintenance of marijuana testing facilities and marijuana manufacturing facilities in any place within the city. This subsection and the prohibition herein is intended to apply to both recreational and medical marijuana. B doesn't really apply here, which is retail sales. And then C, marijuana growing operations, notwithstanding the preceding, a lawfully zoned person, business, or entity that grows only medical marijuana is not affected or otherwise limited by this article, provided that they do not otherwise operate or maintain marijuana testing operations, marijuana manufacturing facilities, or any retail stores of any kind. So again, by approval, if council was to approve this, you would be in conflict with 168. I don't know what that means. I think that, again, having spent a lot of time with this today, I would argue that, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but we're already out of compliance based on anybody that has, and I don't know if there has been, but any operation that was licensed post 1/11/2021, because we did a retroactive act, would be out of compliance if they were a medical facility that is doing manufacturing based on the definition. Don't know if there are. They may pre-exist that, and maybe they were grandfathered. But if there has been, they're out of compliance with our ordinance. So there's that, which I remain concerned with. You know, and then additionally, I did send an email to the city staff today, really just inquiring, because as part of this, there wasn't any indication where the fire department stands on this. And the reason I bring that up is, again, I have several friends around the country in marijuana legal states that have, in various conversations over the years, in fact, even going back to 2016 when the state of Maine enacted the law, I recall having a conversation with an individual that was up here visiting Maine that I've known for a while, and they were cautioning, I guess is the word to use, against that act. Now, clearly the state voters have approved it, but one of the issues at the time they described specifically to Colorado was kind of like the Wild Wild West, and the ability to regulate has not caught up to what they're seeing on the ground. There seems to have been some efforts since then to get there, which, again, spending time with this, I discovered that there's either has been adopted or currently in the process of adopting a national fire code specific to marijuana facilities, because they are, again, I'm not an expert, different than how you would address, say, a regular industrial facility, I guess. So I'm just, again, curious about where we are with that, or if it applies, or perhaps the fire department currently feels everything's A-okay. So I guess I welcome councilors' thoughts on what I've said, more so specifically to the Chapter 168, and how, again, in my opinion, this is out of order if we wanted to do this. And to be fair, I think that the applicant's attorney initially kind of indicated that in that first memo to us about ways to address those changes, but we're not addressing them in tandem. So we're addressing zoning, allowing the use, and now that's going to go through a period of 30 days for adoption. We haven't addressed 168. In the meantime, or even post, if we don't address it, you're going to be, again, in conflict with that ordinance. And again, you know me, I like to do things correctly, so personally, I feel, if anything, we should be tabling this and bringing 168 up. And that's not a tabling motion, I'm just suggesting that's one way to deal with this.
Okay, we do have some answers to some of your questions, so City Administrator
Sure.
Saco.
Well, I'll ask Director Prescott to come forward to speak. Also, the fire chief is here, Chief Hamill, if you want to come up too. Please try to answer some of the questions.
So while my technology gets going, thank you first for hearing from me this evening at final reading. We as staff are to remain neutral. Please keep in mind that this was a petition request that you received. We gave you the full language of that petition request in your October 21st meeting packet. To keep the packets at a usable rate, we gave you the link to those materials. If in the future we need to be directed to give you the full red lines or updates, we certainly can do that. It's just the direction that we need to get as to how this is to be presented. In front of you tonight is the full petition request, which includes the updates to Section 168, as well as 230 that were requested by the petitioner. Again, if that is not clear, or if there's something that you think staff needs to do to make that more clear, certainly happy to do that and support you in any way that we can. There were some questions received this afternoon that we worked diligently to answer and respond to as quickly as possible from Councilor Johnston regarding how many facilities in Saco currently have medical marijuana registered dispensary, and some other questions regarding fire considerations. Just so you know, the process on my end when we send something to planning board is it goes out to all staff and they are given the opportunity to comment. We've been reviewing this since summertime, so there have been plenty of opportunities for all departments to comment. We did reach back out to the fire department, and we have the chief here with us as well. So as far as I know, we have covered 168. If, again, that needs to be made more clear in some way, we're happy to do that. And I also do have here, if council decides they want to act on this tonight, staff does have a couple of recommended amendments to the language in front of you, because again, staff did not write this. You are acting on a petition that was submitted to you. According to our ordinance standards, you are asked to respond to petitions, so you are responding to a petition. There's nothing tonight that says that you have to act tonight. There's nothing tonight that says you can't table this to a further meeting if you need additional clarification or more questions answered. And there's nothing that says you have to approve it, hence why the motion was labeled approve or deny. And then for clarity, this is the petition that you are being asked to review. This was in the October 21st meeting packet with links. Again, if there's another way we should be presenting this to you, we are happy to have that conversation and get that direction from city administration. This was a planning board's report on this item. They also did a full public hearing process. This was the request that was received but for the petition, again, summertime last year, actually. And this is the actual petition that you are being asked to act on this evening. So the red line, or the underlines, would be Chapter 168, Article 1, and then moving on includes Chapter 230, the table of permitted and conditional uses, and 230-307. So that is the actual petition request. Again, if there's something that you would like staff, we can take this, we can put this into the ordinance as it stands today, but we have not received that request from the council. So this is us remaining neutral, waiting for your word on what you would like us to do to move forward. However, if you are going to move forward, we do have amendments that we would recommend. I normally have these for you in the meeting packet. I just was not able to produce them in time, so I have them for you for the floor if you decide to act tonight. These amendments make it clear that adult use cannabis retail sales would be expressly prohibited. Our recommendation is to strike the reference to state caregiver because it could cause some ambiguity. And then the planning board actually asked for wholesale to be incorporated with dispense to make it clear that it's not dispensary retail sales. So these were things that we just wanted to flag for you. If you want this evening, happy to provide that. If the direction is you're tabling and you need more information, happy to provide it then in a future meeting packet. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Prescott.
Sure. Hi, good evening. Councilor Johnson, I mean, as far as I'm aware, NFPA that's going to deal directly with marijuana, you know, those buildings is still in development. It's not slated to probably come out until the end of 26, beginning of 27. And I can tell you from the fire department locally, we haven't responded to any emergencies or had any issues with any of the facilities in town to date. So as soon as more NFPA information comes out or that standard is released, I'm sure we'll be able to take a better look at that and see what some of the best practices are.
Great. Thank you very much. Councilor Johnston, anything else? Any other additional or?
Not to staff. I mean, I have follow-up comment, but I appreciate the answers.
So you're all set for right now?
I mean, with staff, yes.
Okay.
I don't
Thank
have
you.
any further questions.
Councilor Berman?
I don't want to have a monopoly over here. So.
Yeah, actually, I think I have a question for the chief, if you're still available. In these manufacturing facilities, I did a tour of one in town, and there's some complicated extraction methods using flammable materials. I understood from that property owner that the fire department might visit and do inspections with some regularity. Is that the case? And
Sure, I've
issues
done
been observed?
one inspection with Deputy Pendleton probably 2 years ago on one of the facilities on Industrial Park Road, and they were using, at the time, the extraction was done in a separate part of the building. It was completely being done in a non-combustible cement vault. There were also, I think they were using either propane or butane, which is very common for extractions. And in addition to the environment, they also had separate sensors hooked up, so if there was a release or high levels of the butane or the propane, everything shut down, and they had ventilation systems that automatically opened up and just kind of self-initiated, so it would release any gases that were collecting. There was also, I believe, some type of notification system, either through a light or an audible alarm or something, you know, to that nature. That's just one of the facilities that I was actually had firsthand knowledge on.
And are there regulations or codes or any role in the city or state in creating those safety standards, enforcing them, and regulating them?
Those codes are, like I said, they're being developed through the National Fire Protection Association. Those are likely the codes that we will adopt once they are released. It's still actually pretty new, and most of those codes will take, you know, between 3 to 5 years to get everybody together and get, you know, kind of like I said, the best practices finally released. And then they will be adopted and revised every 3 to 5 years. So my guess, probably by the end of 2026, beginning of, end of 2025, beginning of 2026, you'll probably see that first edition pushed out, and we'll look at those codes. And then they will be, again, they'll be revised as time goes along.
But as of today, it's up to the business owner or the property owner to put those safety measures into place as they see fit and as best practices?
Yes, and we still do, we do annual inspections of our commercial businesses, so all of our crews are getting in there, so we're aware of the practices, we're aware of the safety measures, and obviously we'll look to see if there's anything that, you know, and we work with business owners to say, hey, this is, you know, this is probably the best course of action. And we always, you know, if there's any questions, they can always call, and we can make additional visits to hopefully clarify any issues that, you know, may come up or questions they may have.
Thank you. I appreciate you returning to answer my questions. I do have a few more comments, Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So my basic understanding of what we were trying to accomplish here is to take currently existing manufacturing facilities, which are manufacturing for medical use, and also allow them to manufacture for retail use. And as I understand it, the products that are being manufactured are not substantially different, nor are the methods used in that manufacturing substantially different. Therefore, the practices occurring in these facilities, including the amount of manufacturing, the type of manufacturing, the processes of manufacturing, would not fundamentally change. It's really just a change in the market because we have these two regulatory schemes in Maine, a medical scheme and an adult use scheme. It would allow the products made for one category to now also be sold to the other category without, in effect, any actual change in practice. And if that is indeed what's happening here, I would be in favor of that. I think it's a difference without a distinction, or a distinction without a difference, or whatever the right phrase is. I have no intent of allowing adult use sales in Saco. I think Councilor Johnson was asking about that. I don't believe opting into the shift in manufacturing would allow that. It doesn't mean you can have an adult use store on Main Street where somebody could go in and buy adult use products. I don't think that's what we're talking about. I do agree with Councilor Johnston that I'd like some additional clarity, because it does seem like the language in Chapter 168 was pretty clear. I can now see the petition. Thank you for pointing that out. I do think we should talk about the packets and red line versions in the future, and I'm sorry Council wasn't clear about that need. So I do have some questions about how these facilities are existing today, given the prohibition in 168, in order to be converted. But given that they do exist, I don't think allowing them to change from a medical framework to an adult use framework actually changes anything about the business and how it practices, how it operates, or what it does. And therefore, I'm not opposed to the spirit of that change. Whether this text accomplishes that or not, I guess I'd like to hear more from staff about.
Great, thank you. Councilor Johnston?
Thank you. Yeah, again, I appreciate staff addressing that, or my questions. And I guess, forgive me for interpreting this wrong. It's just, I've never seen it done this way, where this being the actual applicant, or the amendment, usually we receive something, and get a red line version, we have the ability to make changes. This is a suggestion. That's how I interpreted this. I read it and said, okay, this is a suggestion, and to be honest, several weeks went by and I didn't re-review it until today, and was trying to wrap my head around the motion, which now reading it with that knowledge, we're just accepting this, which I'm not okay with. I think that we should have that opportunity to decide, as I indicated, where we want it. Are we going to have a definition in the zoning ordinance? And so on and so forth. But additionally, I think it's still out of order, regardless of the request to change 168, we should be addressing that separately. That's historical practice. If you're going to change, city code, zoning ordinance, they're usually done separately. On rare occasion, I think I can remember where we may have changed code at the same time, but from the beginning to end, it was clear that's what we were doing. And for me, it hasn't been clear that that was the intent, and I think that that's important. So the only other thing I would add to this discussion is we do have the right to regulate the number of these facilities. So that hasn't been presented to us. I would advocate for limiting them to whatever we presently have, and maybe if there's an applicant out there, that too, because again, I think that all you have to do is look around the state of Maine. There's not a lot of communities that are opting in. So why should we be at the forefront and then have proliferation of this use in our industrial park, which is limited to begin with? I can think of some higher and better uses that probably would have more employment opportunities. That's not to say that this particular business shouldn't be there. I'm just saying that, like anything, you don't want to have nothing but the same. And that's what will happen, because you're one of the few that's allowing it. So they're going to, flock to Saco. I guess that's it for now. Oh, I was going to say, everybody likes fees. I didn't see any provision for licensing fees. Under Chapter 168, we do have fees for medical marijuana, but are we going to have a separate fee, or maybe not, for this use? And I will agree with Councilor Berman. I have also viewed this as essentially taking what's already happening and allowing an additional use. Which is why I previously indicated on the surface, I think I could be supportive of it, but, you know, there seems to be more to it than just that to me anyway. So, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. I came here tonight thinking a lot more clearly than I am now, and I appreciate the. I'll take some responsibility for the oversight of the materials, but I'm feeling compelled to support a tabling of this until these outstanding issues are vetted a little more deeply, and we come back to this table, myself included, with a much clearer understanding and a much clearer position on this vote. So I'm going to make a motion to table this item to a next available future meeting. I don't know if we need to specify what date, but
No, not this, yeah.
yeah.
go ahead.
So
Time.
that's my. I'll throw my motion out there to table.
Okay, there is a motion to table made by Councilor Hatch. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Johnston. Roll call vote. Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion to table passes 6-0. Yes, City Administrator.
Because even though it's been tabled, kind of want to have concise understanding of what we want us to do back.
Yes.
I think that's reasonable.
Thank you very much. I have here that you would like, sounds like you would like staff to take the petitioner's requests and put it into what you are used to seeing when staff gives you redlined ordinance amendments, because this is, again, this is just not a staff request, so it's not something we would have done without getting that word back from you all. So I appreciate that, so we'll do that. We will incorporate our recommended comments into that document that we will give you, because I think they fall in line with what I heard this evening, which was you would also like us to look at the limitation of the number of these facilities and want to make it clear that no retail use will be allowed. Regarding the changeover in programming and how that was explained, that is our understanding of it as well. The only difference is that the city will be saying, yes, we will opt in for one category under adult use cannabis, not adult use cannabis retail, but adult use cannabis licensing. Could have a ripple effect of other people asking for this type of licensing, so that's just something to be aware of. But yes, that is our understanding as well. It's really to allow these facilities to operate for both programs.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't add it. Discussion is closed, but we can answer direct questions from Director Prescott. Council Berman?
I think I would like to see in the red line versions, the 168 ordinance and the zoning ordinance proposed separately, if we could. And an understanding of what existing facilities this would affect.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Hewitt, did you have? Okay. Okay. Got everything you need?
Yes, thank you. I
right.
appreciate the extra time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 10 tonight. That is the administrative update. City Administrator Bahanko.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple items, just to let you know, there continues to be work on Elm Street sewer infrastructure starting this past Sunday, and temporary road closures and detours will be in place around the Elm and Scammon Street intersections. The project continues our effort to replace brick sewer systems with modern liners, updating our city's infrastructure for future reliability. Local access for residents near this work area will be maintained, and there will be no interruption to sewer or water services during this phase of the project. Tonight you heard about the measure and list, so I won't go into that. But I also want to just let people know to celebrate the holiday season. Festival of Trees at the Dyer Library will commence on from November 29th to December 29th. The Festival of Trees is free to the public. It opens the day after Thanksgiving. Don't miss the Children's Crafts Day, tea, and Mrs. Claus, 2 seating times, and you can call the library for space available. The code red emergency, I'm pleased to report that we have over 700 people enrolled in addition to the built-in database of 17,000 publicly available contacts. The Communications Department has spearheaded this community outreach with the Police Department, sharing information through all available digital platforms, earned coverage in local outlets, other local events. We shared the enrollment information with thousands of community members at gatherings, such as the Saco Main Street Pumpkin Harvest Festival, Election Day at Thornton Academy, and the age-friendly Saco Wellness Fair. While this system has been pre-built, we still would encourage people to sign up with specific numbers they would like to be notified on. If people are having trouble with signing up or having some issues, technology issues, they certainly can call my office and we'll walk them through it. Age-Friendly, Saco's Communications Department has teamed up with Age-Friendly Saco to release a new video. The video highlights a partnership between Age-Friendly Saco's chat program and Smart Helmet Communications company Senna. Senna has provided Age-Friendly Saco with a number of R1 Evo helmets that will allow chat pilots and safety riders to communicate with each other through microphones and speakers built into the helmets. You can watch the video and see the program in action. Go to Saco's YouTube channel, Saco TV, and the City of Saco's government Facebook page. New hires, we're continuing to hire people. New hires, we have a new police officer, Adrian Smith. We have a new city engineer designee, Adam Bliss, with the upcoming retirement of Joe Laveria in July. Then we have Leanne Pergington, HR generalist, and then Marshall Vance as a truck driver. In addition, we're very pleased to say that we have an addition to our fire department. Cliff Wheaton will be joining the fire department as Deputy Fire Chief of EMS later this month. He also served with the Saco Fire Department for many years. We're very pleased to have him come aboard. Upcoming holiday, just let you know that Thursday, November 28th, will be Thanksgiving. Friday, we typically close in observance of Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving Friday. Upcoming agenda, December 2nd, will be inauguration, swearing in of elected officials, election of deputy mayor, and joint meeting with the school board. That's all I have, Your Honor. If there's something else, I'll try to answer it.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments for the city administrator? Okay, not seeing any. Moving on to item 11, that is council discussion and comment. Any discussion or comment from councilors? Councilor Johnston, then Councilor Hewitt.
Thank you. Council has had several emails recently, myself, several more, which, again, I take full responsibility for dropping the ball on this issue. But, we have an individual that has requested that we move forward with naming one of our bridges in the city of Saco after veterans. And I had hoped to bring this forth when Councilor Archer was still seated at the dais, but like I said, I totally whiffed on that one. So I'm just advocating, asking that we move this forward, whatever that process would be, as soon as possible. Thank you.
Yes, we can, I will try to plan that we can maybe get her here for a presentation first of the year, after the holidays and inauguration.
Very persistent.
Councilor Hewitt.
I just want to congratulate Thornton Academy football for winning the Southern Maine final, and they'll be playing in the state championship on Saturday at 1 o'clock in Portland.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Gunn?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to give my congratulations and shared pride to the city of Saco for for the percentage of election turnout, I believe it was 83.9%, which, if my figures are correct, bettered our attendance, better our participation in the last presidential election by about 10 percentage points. So Saco takes the process seriously, and if those numbers hold up, we're probably going to have the highest percentage turnout in York County, like we consistently do, and that's something, as a community, we should be extremely proud of, and let's go for 85 next time. What do we say, right? Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Councilor Johnson?
I appreciate you bringing that up. That's extremely impressive. And having been a day of voter, I was relatively impressed with how, even though it was a long line, it moved exceptionally quickly. You always have new voters that are trying to figure out the process, which I certainly tried to assist, directing them where to put their ballots. But likewise, I just think that city clerk's office and everybody involved, all those volunteers, did a great job. I didn't hear any complaints.
And for a whole month, we had people coming up here and voting early, so we had over 7,000 voting early.
Wow.
Yep.
That by
Fortunate
itself
to
is
have an
impressive.
experienced volunteer staff of clerks and wardens that
So just
know what they're doing, and it was
kudos to
very, very
everybody.
quick. Okay. Just thank you, Councilor Hewitt, for congratulating TA. I was going to point that out as well, hoping that bring home another gold ball. And I would actually like to put out a personal thank you to the Park and Rec Department for last week's seniority luncheon. We did an annual Thanksgiving luncheon to over 160 seniors, not only from Saco, but Old Orchard and neighboring communities as well. And Amelia and her staff just did a phenomenal job. The food was delicious. We had a handful of city staff who were doing the serving for the special one that we do every year. And again, just my utmost thanks to the Park and Rec Department for a great job. Okay, that takes us to item 12, and that is executive session. Is there a motion? Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor McPhail. Be it ordered that the City Council enter into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 405(6)(d), labor contract negotiations.
Motion has been made by Councilor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Berman. Roll call vote. Councilor Parks?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion to enter executive session passes 6-0 at 7:51, and we will be in the downstairs in the conference room. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Is there a motion to adjourn, exit executive session?
So moved.
Motion to exit executive session made by Counselor Hatch. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Berman. Roll call vote. Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion to exit executive session passes 6-0 at 8:20. Is there a report from executive session? Counselor Berman?
Madam Mayor, I have a motion. Be it moved that the City Council hereby authorizes the City Administrator, pending an approved budget transfer to occur in the future, to enter into an extension of the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Saco and the Saco Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 2300, for a term concluding on June 30th, 2026. This extension shall be based upon terms mutually agreed upon by both parties as reflected in amended Appendix A.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Counselor Berman, second by Counselor Johnston. Roll call vote. Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that now takes us to item number 14, and that is an adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Counselor Johnston. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Hewitt. Roll call vote. Counselor Parks?
Yes.
Counselor Gunn?
Yes.
Counselor Berman?
Yes.
Counselor Hatch?
Yes.
Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Hewitt?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes at 8:21. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.